morning, good evening, wherever you may be across the nation around the world. I'm Jeff Jarman. If you listen to Coast AM, you'll know what that meant. Anyway, this is the Grimm Times Podcast, episode number 11. We are following up on our discussion with Johnny Kirkland about the world of Taekwondo and everything else. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it here. So, to go back to the beginning really quick, for someone who's never heard of Taekwondo, well, they've heard of it, but like they know it's a martial art. How would you describe it compared to the other styles like karate and kung fu?
Okay. Kung Fu, you're a lot of hand movement, a lot of prettiness. I'm moving my hands around a lot. Woo! It's about 80% of the martial art you're using your hands for something, and about 20% of your legs or your feet. Karate, 50-50. Kung Fu is good. I wouldn't mind learning some more of it. But Taekwondo, you're actually using your hands about 20%. Because if you think about it, there's only really so much you can do with your hands.
Right.
And
Yeah.
the other 80% is your feet. And if you think about it, which limb is longer? Which one would, touch make contact with your assailant faster? Your leg or your arm or your hand? Which one has more muscle in it? Your leg or your arm? I mean, just think about that. And then if you can concentrate and put good balance, good power, good control into a kick, which it's not that hard, especially if you take Taekwondo and been in it for, doesn't matter really how long. If you can concentrate and put all that into a kick, your assailant is going to notice this and is going to be afraid of this.
Yeah.
Especially, but there's a lot of other stuff to Taekwondo than that. Self-defense. There's a lot of cool stuff. You see stuff in those karate and kung fu movies and stuff like that. Like some guy comes up and puts a chokehold on the other guy and he tries to break free and it's just like not working out and the guy gets passed out. Taekwondo will show you how to get out of that. Like 2 easy steps and you're like, wow, that was so easy. That's way too easy. And then you're thinking, well, that can't really work in real life. Try it. Have someone, put some sort of hold on you as hard as they can, like they're actually trying to kill you. You get out of it seconds. I've had many people try that. Bigger, stronger guys than me. I mean, I'm 6'2", 215. Okay? There's not that many guys that are bigger than me, but there is some out there. We've had them come in, put me in a hold, put me whatever, I get out of it. Of course, then there's some ones that are just freaks of nature, and then you're just like, maybe I shouldn't have been mouthing off to that guy to begin with.
Yeah, and you work on those kind of drills at least once a week, right?
Yeah. We also do a lot of, gun technique, knife technique, how to, like if somebody comes at you with one of those weapons or something like that, how to get it out of hand. But, Kung Fu and karate also work with that stuff as well. Every martial art has something different that they do for same kind of technique. Like, for instance, someone comes at you with a gun. Each martial art has some different way that they can get out of that. Some might be very similar. But I like Taekwondo, but that's just me.
Yeah. So moving on, MMA has made a really big emergence lately with the UFC and different organizations. A lot of people are actually teaching strictly MMA classes now, as opposed to like how they used to do with the separate deals like Kung Fu and Karate and Taekwondo. And now they're all just teaching it all in one, with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Greco-Roman wrestling, all that kind of stuff. It's all together in one class. Do you think that the emergence of MMA and these new classes, do you think that helps or hurts the Taekwondo industry?
Ooh, good question. Well, let's just first off, MMA stands for Mixed Martial Arts. Basically, what they do is they take a little bit, most of the time of these new MMA schools are popping up everywhere, they take a little bit out of each martial art and combining it into one. So you really can't define what martial art you're learning at that time when they're teaching it to you. Sometimes you'll actually have a school to where it's actually separate classes, separate instructors that they not really teaching like if someone wants to learn MMA to like do like cage fighting or UFC or whatever, then yeah, they're taking a little bit out of each martial art. But if they're actually going up there because the school just has a couple different types of martial arts, then it's still MMA, but you're not you're actually learning separately what the martial art is. Like, they have, on certain nights, they teach just Taekwondo alone, and then on the other nights, they teach karate just by itself. So actually hurting the Taekwondo, I don't really see it hurting it, because it's actually getting more people interested in martial arts of some kind. And sometimes they notice that Taekwondo could be better than karate, that they're learning more, or they're, taking on more from that type of martial art. So they'll land their interest in Taekwondo, and then sometimes they'll veer off. But either way, it's getting more people in martial arts. And that's what we're really after.
Right, a healthier overall society, really. But yeah,
Correct.
and when you hear about these UFC fighters, most of them, they have a specific background. Like this guy is a Taekwondo guy who's also trained in blah, 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 whatever it might be. And then this guy's, a Kung Fu guy, or he's a wrestler and he's trained in these different things. So, I mean, it's really an interesting dynamic, because otherwise, if everybody just trained strictly MMA, you would think almost everybody would be even, and it just depends on the body type and, the power and all that kind of stuff. So
Correct.
let's see. What else do you think we should touch on in this podcast? Have I
How
left?
about we touch on how it is to teach a school from your point of view, and how your thoughts about when you was teaching or had your own school?
As far as for me?
For instance, like, how did you feel whenever you started your school? Did you feel like you was ready when you started that school? Did you feel like you've been trained properly?
For me personally, I think I did feel like I'd been trained properly. I mean, our instructor, he had us jump in a lot of times, and we would, take control of the class and actually teach his class, which, his classes are usually bigger than ours. I don't know about you nowadays, but his classes were usually bigger. So when you take control of a larger group like that, it gives you that confidence, especially when you've only got, 5 people starting out with this new school. And so, I mean, that was a big help, I think. I mean, yeah, sure, definitely. The first time I got up there, I was definitely nervous. And sometimes, if you mess up teaching, you can just, go through it and people won't even notice because, they're not teachers. So, I mean, you can just, play it off as long as you're doing the basic thing.
I got this.
So, yeah, I mean, I felt like I was ready. I got the red collar, I think, right before I started teaching. And red collar is basically you're a certified instructor, is what that means, basically. And then you've got black collar in Taekwondo, which is master instructor. So, I mean, I don't know. I think I was only first degree when I first. No, maybe I was second when I started the school. I don't remember for sure. I mean, I know there was a guy from our class who was younger than me who started, and he was only a first degree, I believe, at the time. And he was 17 years old, I think. His school, it didn't go quite that well. I think that might be a bit too young to start taking on that kind of responsibility. I mean, I think I was only 18 or 19 when I started mine, but, everybody's different maturity levels, things like that. So, I mean, I don't know. It's tough to say. It depends on age and, maturity level alone. But
Well,
yeah.
if you ask anybody about me, they still say I'm very immature.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But I'm sure you still felt you were ready for taking on the school.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're only for our organization, you have to have right at or a little more than 100 hours of teaching time, credits, whatever you want to call it,
Right.
before you get your red collar,
Yeah.
which is the red collar is the teacher's belt, pretty much. Then after that, then you're pretty much, yeah, okay, let's start your own school if you still feel good. Well, you already go put those hours in. You're like, oh, I got my own school. It'll be cinch. Well, by the time I finally got my own school, I'd already had over 250 hours of teaching time.
Yeah, you were more than prepared.
Yeah, I was more than prepared. So, teaching was like nothing, which it's still, it just gets easier with time, but you're always going to come across certain issues having to deal with the students or the parents that you just have to deal with at that time, and you have to be careful and gentle with everything, every subject, because you don't want to say the wrong thing, because if you say the wrong thing, then you could be losing a student right there, or having some more that are not joining up because, oh, that instructor said this one thing in this certain manner or whatever. So you always got to be careful at certain things.
Right. And it's tough because, like, with our teacher, everything just seemed so fluid for him. Everything
Yep.
he was able to turn everything into a joke. He was always, making everybody laugh. And I always grew up as a shy kid. I know you definitely knew how quiet I was when I first started. And so, coming out and taking control of that many people as a teacher, it's definitely something different for you. And I was always a little bit harder on the students. I think I wasn't as, I wasn't hard on them, but I was, you know, very uniform with everything. And then, like with your teaching style is a little bit different. You were definitely joking around and being lighthearted because that's the kind of person you are. But then when it comes down to it, you have to be firm with the students.
Yeah. I actually had one student. His mom had actually took him out because she said I was too strict on him.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Uh, Basically, I just had him do a bunch of push-ups because whenever you tell the students to do a certain thing, and if they don't do it, that you don't really threaten, but you just warn them. It's like, if you don't do it this certain thing that I ask of you, or if you can't calm down, then I'm gonna have you do push-ups.
Yeah, and that's no different than gym class. If you mess around in gym
Yeah,
class, they'll make you run laps.
run laps like crazy. So, last time I heard that her son has started this other organization, paying over twice as much as what she was at my school.
Yeah.
So hey, it's her loss.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to expect your teacher to instill that sense of discipline in the child. You can't just let them do whatever, and especially if they're learning how to fight. You can't teach
Yeah.
somebody how to fight if they're going to go out and, misuse it. I mean, it's kind of funny because what got me started in Taekwondo was the anime Dragon Ball Z, and it was a fighting anime. And so yeah, I always loved that. And then one day I was like, hey, I actually want to learn how to fight, and that's what made me feel almost special in a way. I mean, I know it's funny, but that's having this ability and knowing how to fight. It makes you feel good about yourself because you know that even if everybody else is cooler than you and better looking and all this stuff, at least you know that you have something that they don't, and you can defend yourself when it comes down to it. But then also, you could beat these guys. You've got to feel a little special knowing how good you are at what you do, right?
Well, I've always had a kind of a sense of just awesomeness. I'm just joking. I've always been a big guy. I used to be really overweight, so no one really messes with the fat kid. They make fun of you, but they never like, hey, let's pick a fight, with that guy.
Yeah.
So then, whenever I started Taekwondo, I actually dropped a lot of weight, picked up a lot of muscle, a lot of flexibility, and a lot more self-esteem. A lot of self-esteem. So now, I walk around with my head held high. It's not because I know Taekwondo. Taekwondo did definitely help me with that portion of that. Um, but it makes me feel more comfortable as myself.
Yeah.
I'm not embarrassed. I still have a little baby fat, I guess you can say, on me. But I just it helps out quite a bit with that. But yeah, knowing Taekwondo does help you out. Does make you feel a lot better about yourself. Even though the really cool thing is I've always wanted it to where I'm not wanted it, but I always thought it'd be cool that if like someone's like, oh yeah, there's this one guy here I'm gonna go beat up, and they try to do something, next thing they know they're laying on the ground going, what the heck just happened?
Yeah.
It's like this guy is just crazy. Of course, my fiance's got to go around telling everybody, like, oh yeah, he's third-degree black belt. Like, baby, I want them to be surprised when they're looking up at me from the ground.
Well, I have noticed that a lot of times if they know what you do and they know how good you are, then they won't mess with you. They respect that, and that's good. I mean, not everybody's gonna respect that. I mean, I'm sure you've had it happen. When I had my school in Humansville, I had people walk in off the street and be like, "Hey, let's spar a little bit and see how good you are." And I remember one guy came in. He was this little bald guy, and he came in and he supposedly did Muay Thai. He was like a Muay Thai expert, and he said that he fought in a cage and everything. He came in there, and I kicked him in the head like 5 times right off the bat, and pretty much embarrassed him right in front of his friends. And I never saw him in the school again. But I was really nice to the guy, and I was like, "Hey, you're welcome to come. You're welcome to come by anytime, and work out, and I never saw him again.
learn to defend yourself.
Yeah, actually back up what you say.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things. But anyway, we're here at the end of the podcast. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
Mm, not that I can think of.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me. And this is again, this is Johnny Kirkland. I've been talking to. He's got a school in Bolivar, Missouri. So, I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, I'm sure you know us. So, if you want to, come by for a free workout, I'm sure he's willing to let you try one. So,
Always.
yeah. So, keep that in mind. Check out the Jeff Jarman Show on YouTube, also starring Johnny as well. And yeah,
And several different characters.
yeah, yeah, we have fun with that. We might do a future episode
Try
on
to
that.
find them all.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Grimm Times podcast. I'd like to thank Johnny Kirkland for being on the show once again. And I think we put out some pretty good stuff. I plan on having him back pretty soon. We might, maybe even for the next episode. I'm not sure. We've been talking about recording for some different things. Maybe covering behind the scenes in the Jeff Jarman Show, as I said before, or video games or anything along those lines. Something that we know a lot about, at least, so it's not just us rambling and you actually, get something out of it. So, all right, thanks for listening. For Skylar Sylvie and Johnny Kirkland, I am Jeff Jarman, and we will catch you next time on the Grimm Times podcast.
Which one has more muscle in it, your leg or your arm? I mean, just think about that. And then if you can concentrate and put good balance, good power, good control into a kick, which it's not that hard, especially if you take Taekwondo and been in it for doesn't matter really how long. If you can concentrate and put all that into a kick, but Taekwondo, you're actually using your hands about 20%. Because if you think about it, there's only really so much you can do with your hands.
Right.
And
yeah.
the other 80% is your feet. And if you think about it, which limb is longer? Which one would, touch your, make contact with your assailant faster? Your leg or your arm or your hand?
Good morning, good evening, wherever you may be across the nation, around the world. I'm Jeff Jarman. If you listen to Coast AM, you'll know what that meant. Anyway, this is the Grimm Times podcast, episode number 11. We are following up on our discussion with Johnny Kirkland.
You're a lot of hand movement, a lot of prettiness. I'm moving my hands around a lot. Woo! It's about 80% of the martial art you're using your hands for something, and about 20% of your legs or your feet. Karate, 50-50. Kung Fu is good. I wouldn't mind learning some more of it.
Kirkland about the world of Taekwondo and everything else. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it here. So, to go back to the beginning really quick, for someone who's never heard of Taekwondo, well, they've heard of it, but they know it's a martial art. How would you describe it compared to the other styles like karate and kung fu?
Okay. Kung Fu,